But that love falls apart. Your little piece of heaven turns to gold. Listen to your heart when he's calling for you. Listen to your heart. There's nothing else you can do. I don't know where you're going, and I don't know why. But listen to your heart before you tell him sometimes you wonder if this fight is worthwhile. The precious moments are all lost in the tide. Yeah, they're swept away, and nothing is what it seems. The feeling of belonging to your dreams. Listen to your heart when he's calling for you. Listen to your heart. There's nothing else you can do. I don't know where you're going, and I don't know why. But listen to your heart before you tell him And there are voices that want to be heard. So much to mention, but you can't find the words. The sense of magic, the beauty that's been. When love was wilder than the wind. Listen to your heart. Take a listen when he's calling for you. Listen to your heart. Take a listen. There's nothing else you can do. I don't know where you're going, and I don't know why. Listen to your heart before. Oh, listen to your heart. Take a listen when he's calling for you. Listen to your heart. Take a listen. There's nothing else you can do. I don't know where you're going, and I don't know why. But listen to your heart before you tell him goodbye. Listen to your heart. Oh, take a listen to it. Take a listen to
Forrest Fires Tribute to Reese. A messed up situation, but she makes my lonely days sweet. Jesus, aka my sweet Reese. Why doesn't life always give an increase? Loved ones die. Fond lovers cause you to sigh. And life falls on you hard to cause you to cry. Reese, can I weep upon your shoulder? There is nothing I can depend upon as years makes me grow older. Nothing gained in life, but the young and restless strife. Why does life's issues pierce like a knife? And all good opportunities go out of sight? I spoke about women I wished to marry, but the female issues I knew not how to carry. But I think I made the right choices. Reese, in you, outsiders does not know how one rejoice. Yes, again, I made the right choice. I lost all I was assailing, but Reese, with you in my spiritual life I am prevailing. No one may know my inner thoughts or failings, but you kept me close and became my personal railing. You kept me safe from consuming fires, though I could not understand the cruel barbed wire. Why does life go this way? Could it be that prayers make you pay? No, no. I would have been destroyed before the break of day. Without prayer, nothing and no one matters, no matter what they say. Jesus, my Reese, you are my sunshine, and your love better than purest wine. Our love is a sign. Victory is not only mine. Those that put you first, you quench their thirst. Reese, after all that I've been through, would you wrong me to I Laverne? Somehow will you I spurn? We had perfect understanding in the nut house. Am I playing cat and mouse? Dornica, I never made a promise about, but it seems she is gone and went south. Reese, your lessons are hard ones. I am an Adventist and not Catholic for priests and nuns. For this many will say, you made yourself pay. Very well, but at least I gave the Lord sway. Hard times are coming that will try men's souls, and few will come forth like gold. Though she is gone, I admit. Why would you cling to Dornica for a grip? I am curious on how the Sabbaths with her may be. I want to see. I am all finished with love. But Sabbath keeping with another family is not Eros love. You know I can keep it with another. And with Dornica refuse to bother. I want to see and compare in my mind. If I had kept Sabbaths with her, would I have been fine? If she sets me free, I will be gone indeed. Not from the church or congregation, but bothering with last links of the past concerning love's negation. I still await her response, to see whether we can make renaissance. For what is coming, I don't believe in listening to the heart. I go by the law and the mind is my cart. There are few times that one should listen to the heart. Remember, Adam ate the apple and his wife was used to hit the dart. Am I afraid of women? Yes, more than you know. It seems more merciful to die in the snow. It's my number one fear, and they cause many a tear. It's my phobia, because they make faulty utopia. But Jesus, my Reese, is sufficient for all that's coming deficient. Like I said, harder times will fall, and all will wish they listened to such a call. You must get the life and character straightened with God for a fitness for heaven, and ask Jesus to show you the leaven. Sins must be gotten rid of. The law and Sabbath God will not get rid of. Adam was in paradise and fell because of his affection for another. He said, I choose Eve before God, why bother? It's serious if you cannot choose your Jesus before the coveted rib. That one by the side of you, who is ultimately a part of you, bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. What an emotional mesh. The choices you make will affect the judgment. Many will realize too late that the small things mattered, and you find yourself there after sleep a sudden. Here is a quote I want you to note.
Quotes from Testimonies for the Church, Volume 4. Number 29, Testimony for the Church. Chapter 34, The Judgment. On the morning of October 23, 1879, about 2 o'clock, the Spirit of the Lord rested upon me, and I beheld scenes in the coming judgment. Language fails me in which to give an adequate description of the things which passed before me and of the effect they had upon my mind. The great day of the execution of God's judgment seemed to have come. 10,000 times 10,000 were assembled before a large throne, upon which was seated a person of majestic appearance. Several books were before him, and upon the covers of each was written in letters of gold, which seemed like a burning flame of fire, ledger of heaven. One of these books, containing the names of those who claimed to believe the truth, was then opened. Immediately I lost sight of the countless millions about the throne, and only those who were professedly children of the light and of the truth engaged my attention. As these persons were named, one by one, and their good deeds mentioned, their countenances would light up with a holy joy that was reflected in every direction. But this did not seem to rest upon my mind with the greatest force. Another book was opened, wherein were recorded the sins of those who professed the truth. Under the general heading of selfishness came every other sin. There were also headings over every column, and underneath these, opposite each name, were recorded, in their respective columns, the lesser sins. Under covetousness came falsehood, theft, robbery, fraud, and avarice. Under ambition came pride and extravagance. Jealousy stood at the head of malice, envy, and hatred, and intemperance headed a long list of fearful crimes, such as lasciviousness, adultery, indulgence of animal passions, etc. As I beheld, I was filled with inexpressible anguish and exclaimed, "Who can be saved? Who will stand justified before God? Whose robes are spotless? Who are faultless in the sight of a pure and holy God?" As the Holy One upon the throne slowly turned the leaves of the ledger, and his eyes rested for a moment upon individuals, his glance seemed to burn into their very souls, and at the same moment every word and action of their lives passed before their minds as clearly as though traced before their vision in letters of fire. Trembling seized them, and their faces turned pale. Quote intermission.
I suppose that some may want to give me their advice on women, and convinced that the mood is perhaps too sullen. I welcome the advice, and at the same time I don't. Where things lead from Christ, I just won't. Maybe I am still misunderstood. I don't intend to fish in this school. That's under my hood. Some may call me unnecessarily serious concerning last days prophecy, and say I'm an anomaly. Perhaps this is true. But concerning Jesus' return, should we not pursue? Too caught up in love affairs, while Jesus passes whom we should hold dear. But if you must know, my greatest fear is that the love of the catch can cause me to fall flat. If Jesus says throw back, I may surely not listen because of lack. They say that every man needs a woman, and her love is the sweetest cushion. I have not tasted, and I can tell they're sweet. But you have to admit, here many have met their defeat. The love of a woman can blind you, and in her den many a strong man she slew, whether wise or strong. To leave Jesus your Reese out is wrong. If Samson or Solomon continued to pray, they would have endured for their dark day. A man with a woman who does not pray is doubly defeated. Twice blind, he can't seem to know what is really needed. The signs of the times tell of war, terrorism, and bloodshed. One has to question if he is really led. The return of Christ is on the horizon, while Satan stalks like roaring lion. In my opinion, to be single is better. It's one less of a fetter. So, I go to Jesus for my guidance. There's no need for defiance. What he reveals may be painful, but it is better to obey than be sinful. What you choose above Reese would be your defeat. She is the one to keep, though things get deep. In her bosom it's safe to sleep. We must walk in what is revealed, lest you lose your godly seal. This seal is the settling in of the truth. Where Jesus is your Boaz, you become his Ruth. We must listen to the Spirit constantly coming to him, praying for the way for salvation to win. A time is coming where none can approach the threshing floor. No woman accepted, this night may be yours. But if the Spirit is not your Naomi and you constant refuse his call, you receive the lion's maul. Boaz will not accept then. You become a foolish virgin in the end. However, if you are controlled in a relationship, you would be controlled by hard times on this Titanic ship. You would lose your soul. You should have kept like gold. Do I have regrets for not courting Laverne? I can't answer that, as she left too soon to discern. But I wish that I knew her sooner, before things ruin her. That's actually a riddle that only I can understand. I wished much long ago she was my fan. Jason is dead, and I never tapped into Laverne's pomegranate head. There was a time I wished we were wed, but it became a ruin instead. I will never lead Laverne nor Dornica on. I am sad it all ended so torn. But back to the question about regrets. I am one that was born blind, and ignorance had me unset. I was kept in the dark. Hence motives always seem stark. You can ask another question, though you don't know the lesson. Do I ever hope to marry? No, it's not on my agenda with one in this life to tarry. When I fell out of love, I fell out of that hope. It's no longer a part of my scope. Don't try to change it or rearrange it. I think that this is fit. On Jesus, I have a firmer grip. What a twist. I leave marriage alone and look to Christ, cling to Christ, and live for Christ. I purely look for friendship, and I prefer to start where the last ruin took the dip. The breaches I seek to heal, and pray we all will receive the Master's seal. Here is a continued quote that all should note.
Quotes from Testimonies for the Church, Volume 4. Number 29, Testimony for the Church. Chapter 34, The Judgment. Quote continued. Their first appearance when around the throne was that of careless indifference. But how changed their appearance now? The feeling of security is gone, and in its place is a nameless terror. A dread is upon every soul, lest he shall be found among those who are wanting. Every eye is riveted upon the face of the one upon the throne, and as his solemn, searching eye sweeps over that company, there is a quaking of heart, for they are self-condemned without one word being uttered. In anguish of soul each declares his own guilt and with terrible vividness sees that by sinning he has thrown away the precious boon of eternal life. One class were registered as cumberers of the ground. As the piercing eye of the judge rested upon these, their sins of neglect were distinctly revealed. With pale, quivering lips they acknowledged that they had been traitors to their holy trust. They had had warnings and privileges, but they had not heeded nor improved them. They could now see that they had presumed too much upon the mercy of God. True, they had not such confessions to make as had the vile and basely corrupt, but, like the fig tree, they were cursed because they bore no fruit, because they had not put to use the talents entrusted to them. This class had made self supreme, laboring only for selfish interests. They were not rich toward God, not having responded to his claims upon them. Although professing to be servants of Christ, they brought no souls to him. Had the cause of God been dependent on their efforts, it would have languished, for they not only withheld the means lent them of God, but they withheld themselves. But these could now see and feel that in occupying an irresponsible position in reference to the work and cause of God they had placed themselves on the left hand. They had had opportunity, but would not do the work that they could and should have done. The names of all who professed the truth were mentioned. Some were reproved for their unbelief, others for having been slothful servants. They had allowed others to do the work in the Master's vineyard, and to bear the heaviest responsibilities, while they were selfishly serving their own temporal interests. Had they cultivated the abilities God had given them, they could have been reliable burden-bearers, working for the interest of the Master. Said the judge, all will be justified by their faith and judged by their works. How vividly then appeared their neglect, and how wise the arrangement of God in giving to every man a work to do to promote the cause and save his fellow men. Quote intermission.
Reese is a lamb who offers even her blood, and her love comes in like a flood. When I am lonely, she knows what buttons to press. In her bosom I find comforting rest. I was pressed and heartbroken to acknowledge I lost the battle with Laverne. I did not give Dorniika a chance because of misunderstandings born. You have to ask the question, am I lonely? No. I want Jesus only. Well, why do I talk about the two of them so much? Do I wish to touch? Do I still wish for much? Am I deceiving myself such? It is something on my mind to settle. Like whistling teapot kettle. I blow whistles. That seem like incoming missiles. I was never one to speak my mind. Here is a mystery to which all are blind. No one knows why, this does me quite fine. Back to the notion of loneliness. I did say concerning Jesus, I'm only his. You know Jesus gave Adam his Eve. Did he make a mistake and then leave? Here is where I will be assessed. And men will sum up the mess. I am afraid of the last days. The evidence say that terrors will bear last sway. Experts may say my notions are unfounded, and advise me to live life with prosperity abounded. In their eyes I am a mere alarmist, in the form of a psalmist. Noah used wood, and I write poems as I should. A flaming flood is coming, without pains benumbing, a papal image to be, where the American Protestants enforce the mark of the beast. My intel they say comes from my shell, Mark my word. If you heed not, you will go to hell. Why ring such a bell? Can such a thing sell? I love you enough to risk telling you the truth. Everything is in place for all that is hellish and uncouth. All denominations are infiltrated. When men war against the beast, all will be frustrated. When men and ministers dare to and boldly fight against keeping the command of God that says remember and tell you to forget. Remember what I said, all things are set. The tribulation will stun the world. And then too late to benefit from God's truthful pearls. You can say I know nothing. No, my friend, I know much. All will be shaken and gone out of touch. Whole nations will cease to exist. And every city destroyed on the list. Don't ask me how I know. I just know. Take it or leave it. Don't be left in the snow. The purple rain will fall. And you would wish you heeded when God did call. This is not 1% of what is brewing underneath. Going by this, you may understand why I fear love's seat. All I can say is find Jesus and cling to him. For what is coming, a mighty sting. I fear the wedding unions and sexual communions. Satan holds the issues of such hostage. To override the important message, I was deep in a satanic mess, for which involvement I can never really confess. I only say enough for you to make your decision. Things mysterious only causes heaven's omission. Satan's mysteries are faulty. The Seventh-day Adventist Ellen White truths is enlightenment and what Jesus calls salty. One day Satan will be allowed to grievously attack this church through unsanctified members and outside enemies who remembers. Like Nebuchadnezzar, they look into the liver and divine by Satan when we are weakest. Because we kept the seventh day weakest. The seventh day and the truest life of Daniel was our strength. But the majority give it up at length. If Dornica wants, we can still keep Sabbaths, and I can write on how we manage. But if such writings ruin the credentials, I understand. It's not Spanish. In ending, here is a quote. For all to note.
Quotes from Testimonies for the Church, Volume 4. Number 29, Testimony for the Church. Chapter 34, The Judgment. Continued. Each was to demonstrate a living faith in his family and in his neighborhood, by showing kindness to the poor, sympathizing with the afflicted, engaging in missionary labor, and by aiding the cause of God with his means. But, like Meroz, the curse of God rested upon them for what they had not done. They had loved that work which would bring the greatest profit in this life, and opposite their names in the ledger devoted to good works there was a mournful blank. The words spoken to these were most solemn, you are weighed in the balances, and found wanting. You have neglected spiritual responsibilities because of busy activity in temporal matters, while your very position of trust made it necessary that you should have more than human wisdom and greater than finite judgment. This you needed in order to perform even the mechanical part of your labor, and when you disconnected God and His glory from your business, you turned from His blessing. The question was then asked, why have you not washed your robes of character and made them white in the blood of the Lamb? God sent His Son into the world, not to condemn the world, but that through Him it might be saved. My love for you has been more self-denying than a mother's love. It was that I might blot out your dark record of iniquity, and put the cup of salvation to your lips, that I suffered the death of the cross, bearing the weight and curse of your guilt. The pangs of death, and the horrors of the darkness of the tomb, I endured, that I might conquer him who had the power of death, unbar the prison house, and open for you the gates of life. I submitted to shame and agony because I loved you with an infinite love, and would bring back my wayward, wandering sheep to the paradise of God, to the tree of life. That life of bliss which I purchased for you at such a cost, you have disregarded. Shame, reproach, and ignominy, such as your master bore for you, you have shunned. The privileges he died to bring within your reach have not been appreciated. You would not be partaker of his sufferings, and you cannot now be partaker with him of his glory. Then were uttered these solemn words, He that is unjust, let him be unjust still, and he which is filthy, let him be filthy still, and he that is righteous, let him be righteous still, and he that is holy, let him be holy still. The book then closed, and the mantle fell from the person on the throne, revealing the terrible glory of the Son of God. The scene then passed away, and I found myself still upon the earth, inexpressibly grateful that the day of God had not yet come, and that precious probationary time is still granted us in which to prepare for eternity. End quote. End poem.